Hey, what's going on, guys? Josh Thomas here from TheBitBlock.com with our detailed video review for Fast Racing League on the Wii Ware service. This game is out right now in North America and in Europe, and you can download it yourself for only 1,000 Wii points, which, you know, here in America would be $10. So it's a steal. This game is awesome. It is a brand new futuristic racing game. It's very similar to the F-Zero series of games. And I happen to know for a fact that a lot of you out there want Nintendo to make a new F-Zero game. And so until that day happens, Fast Racing League is really an excellent substitute. It's for 1 to 4 people. They've got some really cool, fun things to do for just one person, but you can also play up to 4 people via local split screen, which I think is really awesome. It's very fun. We've tried it here at the BitBlock and it was insane. So, the game is developed by Shin'en, who also worked on the Jet Rocket game, as well as Art of Balance. Both of those are really excellent WiiWare titles as well. They've also worked on Nanostray for the Nintendo DS. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. But basically what I'm getting at here is Shin'en is an excellent developer. They always put tons of effort into their games. And I think you're definitely going to be wowed by Fast Racing League. But let's go a little bit more in detail. Here we go. Let's buckle up and speed our way through the BitBlock's very detailed review for Fast Racing League on the WiiWare service. Here we go! The main gameplay feature in Fast Racing League is known as phase shifting. So, what is that? Well, basically, your ship has the ability to switch back and forth between black and white phases. So by doing this, you can take advantage of speed-up plates, jump pads, and even ceiling tracks where you'll be upside down, which is freaking insane. So basically, you match the color of your ship's phase to the phase of elements that are placed on the track. This concept is really fun, and it adds in a lot to the experience. As you can imagine, it means you're gonna have to be on your toes and ready to switch your phase throughout the race. Sometimes it's even crucial and can be the difference between winning and bursting into flames like I'm doing here. Now, it's important to mention you can't just keep switching your phase whenever you want. You actually have to collect energy power-ups scattered throughout the tracks. Each one fills up a section of this little bar in the bottom left corner. Switching your ship's phase will cost you 1 section. For every 5 energy power-ups you have stored, you can also perform a speed boost. So collecting these little babies is pretty essential to winning. All of this comes together to create a very strategic racing experience, which is great because the more you play, the better you're gonna get. Of course, Fast Racing League has some pretty insane track design, much like what you would find in F-Zero, for example. There's plenty of sharp turns, loops, and jumps. Many of the courses even feature slippery ice, spinning gate obstacles, and windy tornadoes that will blow you all over the place. There's a total of 6 different ships you can pilot. Each one has its own design and, of course, controls a bit differently. Statistics are based on weight, velocity, and acceleration. You can also choose one of 8 different colors to be displayed on your ship's outline. As for controls, you can play with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, or you can go classic controller style. But my favorite way to play is just by using motion controls with the Wii Wheel. You don't need to use the Wii Wheel, obviously, but it does help with your grip on the controller. Simply tilting to steer works very well, and it's a lot more fun than just using an analog stick, in my opinion. When using motion controls, the 2 button is acceleration, 1 button reverse, down on the D-pad is for boosting, and up on the D-pad is what you use to switch your phase. So it's all fairly simple, and it works out very well. Again, if you don't want to use motion controls, no problem. There's always the other 2 control methods, so hey, everybody's happy. Fast Racing League is easily one of the prettiest games on WiiWare. In fact, I'll go one step further and say it's just flat out great looking as a Wii game in general. In the 40 megabyte limitations of WiiWare development, Shin'en has somehow managed to make their downloadable game look better than about 70% of retail games on the Wii. The overall art style has a futuristic vibe to it. You'll see lots of different shading effects on the road, your ship, and extra pieces of the environment like rocks and trees. The game's water also looks pretty nice. If you're not careful, you'll get a nice close-up view of it, like I am right now. All of these little bits of detail really show that shin'en truly cares about making their games look as good as possible. It's hard not to be impressed when you're speeding down the track and the sun is glaring in your face and making all sorts of fancy effects happen. The game's courses take place in a wide variety of impressive locations, and because of this, you'll see lots of environmental effects. For example, racing through a rainy thunderstorm, gliding on ice while the snow falls down, or splashing through water in a flooded city. It all looks great and gives personality to each level. Some of the textures can appear a bit muddy up close, but you're really not going to notice it because you're speeding past them very quickly. Fast Racing League runs at a silky smooth 60 frames per second when you're playing by yourself, but if you hop into multiplayer, it's going to dip down to 30 frames per second. When you consider that this is a Wii Ware title and all of its data is under 40 megabytes, it is really, really great looking. There's a total of 23 different music tracks in Fast Racing League. Once again, that's pretty impressive for a Wii Ware title. You can even listen to the game's music through an unlockable jukebox. As you would probably expect from a futuristic racing game, the music all shares a remix techno sound. Of course, it all depends on your own personal preference, but honestly, I really like the soundtrack. There may not be any musical tracks that really stand out from each other, and you won't be whistling this soundtrack in the shower, but it works great with the game's intense, fast pace. There's a total of 3 different single-player modes in Fast Racing League. First up is League Mode. This is basically what you'll play through to unlock new ships, courses, and additional features. It's laid out in classes, which basically represents the difficulty. Neutron is the easiest, and it plays out a bit slower. Proton class has an average difficulty. And finally, Ion is where things become very fast, and the other racers are considerably more challenging. There's a total of 3 leagues: Shima, Siberia, and Sunahara. Each one takes you through a total of 4 different tracks, and based on your ranking in each race, you'll be rewarded with points. If you're in the top 3 rankings at the end of a league, you will receive some kind of cool unlockable. Next up for single-player mode is Fast Records. Essentially, this is where you can choose to play a single track instead of playing through a full league. It's a lot like a time trial mode, but they've included other racers as opposed to you just racing solo. This mode tracks your best ranking, best lap, and best overall time for every course. Sadly, there's no way to race against ghost data or save replays. It's not a huge issue, but it's definitely something that would have made this mode that much more cooler. Finally, for single player, the game offers up a challenge mode. This is actually pretty cool, and it does add in a nice amount of replay value. There's a total of 21 different challenges, all of which have you completing a task inside of a time limit. You'll either be collecting a set number of items, racing to the goal while avoiding obstacles, or completing a certain number of laps around a track. If you try to speed through these in one sitting, you should be able to complete the challenge mode in about 1 to 3 hours, depending on how good you are. However, you can also earn a gold star ranking for every challenge by finishing within a par time. Sadly, the game doesn't tell you what the time is, so you're kind of in the dark and you need to figure it out yourself. Earning all the gold stars on every challenge mission is definitely going to add in several hours of replay value. Now, the game also features local multiplayer for up to 4 players. If you're playing with 2 people, you can choose between vertical or horizontal split screen. Also, with 2 people, you can decide if you want the game to run at 30 frames per second all of the time, or if you would like to run the game at a variable speed, where it will try to run at 60 frames per second when it can, and if it can't, it will slow down to 30 frames per second. Sadly, Fast Racing League does not feature any kind of online support. You can't race against others online, and you can't upload your best times to any kind of an online leaderboard. It sucks, but, because this is a $10 WiiWare game, you have to kind of alter your expectations and understand that you're not going to get a full $50 retail experience for such a small price tag. Even without any kind of online mode, though, the game does offer up lots of fun. Fast Racing League pretty much satisfies all of your gaming senses. It looks great, sounds great, and it plays great. It's something that anybody can pick up and play, but trust me, it also provides some insane challenge. However, sometimes it does feel like the AI might be a bit too good on later difficulties. It's almost like the game leaves you very little room for errors. Personally, I really like the added strategy that the energy power-ups add into the game. The fact that you need to collect them in order to take advantage of elements on the course really keeps things interesting while you're racing. I'm also pretty fond of the phase switching idea. It works out really well in the game. With lots of variety in the courses, several controller options, some cool ships to pilot, intense speed, local multiplayer, one-player challenges, and more, Fast Racing League is easily one of the all-time best games available on Wii Ware. It may have a couple shortcomings, but I have no doubt you're more than getting your money's worth here.